Hello everyone and welcome back to another AFK Journey video. In this video we're going to be going over the top performing teams for the Lone Gaze Dream Realm boss as of right now. And I'm going to begin by showing you the two replays from Old Grey Gamer because there are two teams here which I'm not able to do because I don't have Talene built up on my account and I don't have Lenya either. So in my opinion, this Talene team with Freestro, this is the overall most consistent team. You can bring it into the boss, you're always going to get a good damage output. This team specifically I think did around 72% of the boss's health. However, the Lenya team I'm going to show after this, it wasn't able to beat that score for the tries that Old Grey Gamer did, but it has potential, if RNG is in your favor, to maybe get an even higher damage score than this team. But I would consider this team probably to be the best, and I'll explain why. So with this team, because you have double healer, Mikola and Smokey, and then you also have Coco damage reduction. No one is going to die in this team. The way the Lone Gaze boss works is that with these purple wolves that he summons, they will prioritize attacking your rearmost ally. And in this position is Coco. But because Coco has a healing from Smokey, healing from Mikola, and then damage reduction from her own ultimate, the boss is not able to kill her. And then your team is just consistently able to get off their damage. The problem happens is when the boss kills one of your team members, because then the boss gains tanky stat bonuses and he also gains like a haste buff. Like this is the skill description of Lone Gaze. When he gets a kill, he gets powered up and it becomes harder to deal damage to him. So as you can tell, consistent damage output. Right towards the end, Coco dies with only 44 seconds left. So it won't make that much of a difference on the total damage output. In total, Talene was definitely one of the top contributors, but Freestro also did a reasonable amount of damage as well. If you are not using this team, then there is the Lenya team option, and then I'm also going to show you the team I'm running because I can't run either of these, and even the team that I'm running gets pretty close to the damage output of these teams, but not quite as much. So the Lone Gaze boss, basically Freestro is really well suited for this boss because he doesn't have any issues surviving. He can provide useful buffs with Crimson Contract to the backline, and he gets off a good amount of damage as well. Talene can revive if at any time she dies, and otherwise she just gets off continuous damage output. And Mikola is really good because look at the damage output from Mikola. That's from her Combat Fury effect, which will cause like a burn effect on adjacent enemies to your allies who are buffed up with it, and because Lone Gaze is always grouped around your team, you get a lot of damage output with that. So the other team is going to be Lenya. So here Lenya, the sole damage dealer, Kruger, the supporter or debuffer for Lenya to increase physical damage onto the boss. Rainier as well, increasing the damage onto the boss. The previous team we saw didn't even run Rainier. It was basically more of like, it was double healer, one support Coco, then the tank Freestro and Talene. And Mikola again getting a lot of damage output with the Combat Fury. So Mikola is going to be the best option for Lone Gaze, but there's an option without Mikola that also gets a really good score, which I'll show you. And then Coco here for the damage reduction. Coco is needed in every Lone Gaze team, and then you're going to need to run one healer, either Mikola or Smokey. Smokey is honestly actually a more powerful healer, but Mikola can work as well. Now here I'm going to show you what is the issue with this team and where does it need the RNG. So as of right now, the rearmost ally is Coco, but pretty soon Coco is going to walk up when the boss spawns again, and now Rainier is going to be the target of these purple wolf summons. Rainier can survive, he doesn't survive that well, and unless you have like a Thorn Soul Pact onto him, he cannot survive for most of the fight. And like I think with around halfway through this fight, Rainier is going to die. And then the boss gets the big buff to the defensive stats and also the haste buff, so that he has more kills for onto your team. There you go. Rainier goes down, and now the damage output is going to slow down because he gets one of those stacks of buffs. And then he gets another kill onto Coco because of his haste buff, and things kind of like, he eliminates your team with 12 seconds left. So with RNG, if you can somehow have Rainier survive, like even that burst, just to the next time that he goes for the burst, for example, like with 30 seconds left, that would increase the damage output of this team by a lot. But a lot of the times Rainier is going to die in that position because even though you have Mikola and Coco for protection and healing, it's just not enough to keep him alive. And this is also like a Supreme Plus Rainier. So Thorn's Roll Pacting the Rainier is pretty much the only way I've found, along with like Smoky Healing, is like the only way to have him not die. Otherwise, he is gonna die in the fight, and it's just a question of when does he die, how early does he die. Lenya's damage output is really good. The other thing is that Old Great Gamer doesn't have charms for Lenya, or yeah, charms for Lenya pretty much, but he didn't have charms for Talene either, so it's kind of like a fair test in that sense. So those are the two top performing teams. If you have those heroes, you should try them, but if you don't, then we're gonna now take a look at the other options. So my best team score that I got is this team. It's pretty similar to the Lenya team, but basically you have Odie as your damage dealer instead of Lenya, and you have Shakir as your buffer instead of Kruger as the debuffer. Otherwise, the heroes are exactly the same. And this is the formation, and again, this team is going to have the same problem that the Lenya team had, which is that Rainier is going to die. And if you do multiple runs, you can have it like line up so that Rainier dies as late as possible, and that's how you get your maximum damage. And then yeah, so Shakir goes in the front. He is good in this boss because your team is grouped up for a lot of it. That's why also Mikola Combat Fury gets value. And then he's going to be buffing up your team with the damage reduction, haste buff, attack. If he's at +10 exclusive equipment, Odie is going to be attack buff, buffed by the Rainier, and Coco for the damage reduction is important. So we'll watch this replay because it relies on RNG this run, so if I do another run, we might not get as good of a score. And just watch the Rainier. The whole determining factor of this team is how quickly does the Rainier die. If Rainier could survive the whole fight somehow, then it would improve the damage of this team and the Lenya team by so much. But without like that Thorn's Roll Pact, or like, yeah, that's pretty much it. He is gonna die. Even through the Coco damage reduction, he is gonna get popped at some point. But here we survived quite well, and this is why I got a good damage score. Rainier goes down right now at 35 seconds left. But in the Lenya team we just saw, I think Rainier went down even before that. So that, and then my Coco survives. She doesn't get popped by that jump attack by the wolf. So this is why this was a good run for me. Now she's going to go down to the purple wolf summons, and now the rest of my team is probably going to get destroyed as well. But they survive for most of the fight to 0 seconds down. And so this is how this team can get its maximum damage output, but it is not as good as the other two teams. We're running Resonating Spell. Even in the other two teams, the optimal artifact is, I believe, Resonating Spell. We can take a look at it again. It was, I think, Resonating Spell on Talene in the first team, and Resonating Spell on Lenya in the second team. Oh no, this is Tidecaller Spell. So Tidecaller Spell is a good artifact because it will debuff the boss, but the debuff only lasts for 4 seconds. It will cause the boss to take more damage and deal less damage to you. And so, like, it can protect your team better because the boss deals less damage. And it can also allow your damage output to be higher because you have that debuff, which is like the Rainier level of debuff, increasing the damage received, but it's only for 4 seconds each time you cast 5 ultimates. It's going to be a lot stronger when it gets a +20 upgrade, because then you will have to cast 4 ultimates and you'll still get the same debuff for 4 seconds. So Resonating Spell onto the Lenya, because she is your main damage source. Okay, those are those teams. Now I'm going to show you some different free-to-play alternatives. Okay. So we look at my records. So one, I think we'll look through, this I think was the best one. Now, if you have Rainier at Mythic Plus, let's say you don't have Mikola, you can use Smokey in the team and get a really good score. Now, I did a lot of testing, and I found out that this formation is going to be the best. So I had to give up on the Elite Magic Charm bonus onto Odie, because if I put Rainier here, and I put Thorn here, for example, then Smokey is in one of these two positions, and then for some reason the boss begins attacking the Smokey, even though Rainier is technically one tile behind, or like further more rearmost than the Smokey. Smokey still gets focused by the attacks, and then Smokey gets destroyed and your team loses its effectiveness. Like, I tried the different formations. If we just look, like, for example, I would need to look at one of the earlier ones to here maybe. Yeah, so You would think this is the best setup, because Rainier is behind, and he stays behind the Smokey the whole time, but the Smokey gets focused by the Wolves' summon attacks. So this formation just doesn't work. I had to put Rainier back here, Thorin in front of him soul pacting, and then only it worked, and give up on the Rainier Elite Charm bonus onto Odie, because that got the best score for me. So you guys can do testing as well, but I'm pretty confident this is going to be the best overall team if you have Rainier at Mythic Plus and like not a Mikola. So yeah, and then we'll show you a team without Rainier at Mythic Plus, or maybe I'll have to do another run of that, because I might not have done a team test for that, because I did so many different formations of the same lineup of heroes, and I found that this was the only consistent one. Because look at this, Thorin soul pacting Rainier. You want Rainier to be taking the aggro of the Lone Gaze boss. You don't want Smokey to be taking it, because Smokey is easy to kill for some reason. The boss killed Smokey more quickly, even when I was Thorin soul pacting the Smokey. And also the thing is, like, even if Rainier goes down towards the end of the battle, that's fine, but you don't want Smokey going down at all. You want Smokey to be there until the end of the battle. I think Rainier will probably die in the next nuke of the boss with the summons. No, he barely survived. So this is perfect. This is what you want to happen. But this is pretty much the only way this can happen, with Thorin soul pacting the Rainier and then also the healing from Smokey. Otherwise, the boss would have killed at least one of your team members. So there you go. That did a lot of damage, like 2.3 billion damage, I believe. 2.3 billion damage, which is really... It's really good. Like 2.35 almost billion damage. And like... really comparable to my best score, and I've done a lot of runs with the Mikola team. So a really good option if you have Rainier at Mythic Plus. Probably the best team. Now if you don't have Rainier at Mythic Plus, then you can go for example, no Rainier, no Mikola. So Thorin will be here again. We'll want to have Odie tanking the damage from the back. I'd probably position like this just to make sure. Or Thorin could even do someone else in the back, and then we have Smokey. And finally, the final hero option could be Shakir. Shakir would be probably the best option if you have him. It could be a Mikola as well, along with the Smokey for more protection. And I think those would be the major good options depending on what you have. Could even be Kruger, to be honest, because Kruger does fine if you don't have Shakir built up, but let's say it's Shakir. I want to say this is going to be... We'll have to go something like this. Yeah. Okay, because basically I want to make sure that the soul-pacted ally is the one who gets targeted by the wolf boss, and I think this might be the only arrangement where that can happen. Now, if you want to do a lot of runs, it's possible, like, for example, having the Rainier in the back without soul pack protection, like in the Lenya team, for example. If you do a lot of runs, eventually there can be a good RNG run where that gets the total maximum score. But for the most part, a lot of the runs, you're going to get a lower score than other teams because you're going to die early. And so it leaves up a lot to chance. Even, for example, the best team I showed you for the Thorin Rainier team that we just talked about, which got 2.35 billion damage, that is the most consistent version of that team. But you can also try running that team with a different formation. Okay, so this one did 55.7%. Yeah, around 2.1 billion damage to the boss. Odie survived the whole time because he was soul pack protected. So I think this can be a pretty good option for a team for you as well. 2.1 billion. Not bad. But yeah, I just want to show you one thing. This is the team line. So potentially, if you do a lot of runs, you will be able to get the highest score possible with this team setup. But I don't know how many runs you would have to do. And it's just weird because, look, the boss is targeting the Smokey. And you want him to target the Rainier here, who is the backmost ally. You have him soul pacted, but for whatever reason, the boss begins attacking the Smokey. I don't know what it has to do. Does it have something to do with your charms that you have equipped or not? But either way, for me, this formation just didn't work, because if Smokey dies early, that's really like reducing your damage output by a lot. If you can somehow do enough runs and have Smokey not die, like for example right now, he always gets popped here for me. If he didn't die there, for whatever reason, then yeah, I think maybe this could be your overall best performing team. But look at that right there. Rainier survived just fine. And that's why you want Rainier to be targeted by this boss's attacks. And here, we're just going to get a lower damage output. Only even under the team without Rainier Mythic Plus we just ran. And the overall best score we got with this team is 2.35 billion with that formation. So anyway, hopefully this gives you a lot of different teams to try for this boss. I think we've covered pretty much all the top teams and their advantages and disadvantages. And that is as of right now. Maybe people will find out new formations as the day goes on, but I'm pretty sure these are going to be the best throughout the day, because Lone Gaze is a boss that you need very specific teams and lineups, formations, in order to do well with him, and to protect your team and not have allies die. Anyway guys, that's gonna be it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. And until then, everyone, peace out for now, and thank you for watching.